Hey guys, welcome back, it's Meg. We are now in Phase 2 of the Midnight Alpha, so I wanted to go over some of the initial changes that we saw in our class tree, our spec tree, and some updates to our hero talents. Starting out on the class tree side of things, we have a couple of talents that were removed and replaced with new talents. First up on the chopping block is Vigorous Expulsion. This was a modifier for Expel Harm, but because not everyone has access to Expel Harm anymore, this has been removed and replaced. Pretty much the same deal here with Profound Rebuttal and Strength of Spirit. This was a choice node that had two modifiers for Expel Harm, which again we don't have access to, so these have also been cut. For new talents in our class tree, we have Silent Sanctuary. While no enemies are within 15 yards, you heal for a small amount every 3 seconds. This seems like it is aimed at the PvP Mistweaver side of things. I don't know how useful it will end up being, but in any other circumstance, whether it's in keys or raid, there's very few situations where any monk spec won't be within 15 yards of an enemy, so this kind of screams PvP to me. Next up is Serene Surge. This is a new talent on a choice node with Vivacious Vivification. This will likely see play for Mistweavers in raid and in PvP. Just as a reminder, Shaylin's Gift replaces Vivify, so if you're not talented into Shaylin's, this will also work with Vivify. And I do think this is primarily a PvP talent since there are more diverse builds in that content and this adds support for them. Losing the original Vivacious Vivification was, I think, really harmful for some of the PvP builds since a lot of them don't use Rising Sun Kick, so seeing this added in for those PvPers is really nice. Reinvigoration has been added underneath Detox, and this causes your Detox successful dispels to increase their movement speed by 30% for 5 seconds. This kind of seems PvP focused to me. I don't know how much I will use it, but I think that it's kind of cool to add some interaction to our dispel that isn't just removing debuffs. Still Step Coil is a leg sweep modifier that applies Disable for 5 seconds when it ends. This could be helpful for tanks or just general mob control, especially if they're NPCs who like to run away at low health. You can extend the leg sweep disables just as you would extend the regular form of these, but you must be in melee range when the leg sweep expires, otherwise disable won't apply. I think that part's a bug, but I'm not sure. Ferocity of Swen is a 2-point talent now, 2% per rank. I swear this used to be 2 points originally and then was changed to 1 and now it's back to 2, but I may be misremembering. Mistcaller is a replacement for Vigorous Expulsion, and this causes Vivify or Shaylin's Gift to trigger a Gust of Mist on yourself. You don't need to be the target of these spells to get the Gust of Mist healing, so this is a lot of free self-healing. Vital Clarity is replacing the Strength of Spirit and Profound Rebuttal choice node, which just increase the chance of crit when healing yourself with Shaylin's or with Vivify. Jumping over to the spec side of the tree, Refreshment has been removed, and Mist of Life is taking its place as the choice node with Calming Coalescence. Chi Harmony and Mending Proliferation have also both been removed. In the previous build, Mending Proliferation had been buffed, and now is just being removed entirely along with Chi Harmony. This is what I would expect to be the final step in removing power from our amps and putting them back into our actual spells, which I am all for. I'm very happy with these changes specifically. With the removal of the amps, this is going to make Mistweaver a lot more approachable and a lot more manageable for most players, and honestly, it's going to make it a lot more enjoyable as someone that's already comfortable with the spec because you don't have to send so many globals to prep for any incoming damage at all. The 2 stat talents, Battle Meditation and Flowing Spirit, have both been removed. This isn't super surprising, but I am glad to see that these are gone since they were kind of boring. Mist Dispersion, we were told that it would not be surviving the alpha cycle, so here it is just being removed. For new spec tree talents, we are starting out with Misty Coalescence. This increases the healing of our Renewing Mist up to 300% based on the coverage. Initially reading this, I expected it to be kind of like Lenience, where the more Renewing Mist you have out, the less that each of them does, but it's actually the opposite. This graph from Vor just shows the actual healing increase based on the party size. This allows Renewing Mist to be more impactful in smaller groups without it getting out of hand in raid. I appreciate now that with Chi Harmony gone, that Renewing Mist now has its own identity again, and I'm excited to see how this plays out. Emperor's Elixir is our other new talent for the spec tree, and this is a new capstone. Emperor's Elixir will add 2 new interactions to Thunder Focus Tea, one being Enveloping Mist, causing a Soothing Mist to begin channeling on the cast, and you can use it while moving. You can also swap targets during this Empowered Soothing Mist without breaking the channel. Having access to real healing on the move is a complete game changer for us, especially in keys. Being able to plan Thunder Focus Tea uses around heavy movement and heavy damage phases is going to help alleviate one of the longer standing issues that Mistweaver has had, so I'm very happy with this addition. This is pretty on the nose to what I was talking about in my last video about wanting a empowered Soothing Mist, but this is actually better because you don't have to waste the global on Soothing Mist first. You get instant healing just by casting Enveloping and then all the effects of Soothing Mist. And for the second half, this is also where Jadefire Stomp returns, though it's not as demanding as it was before. Now when you use Thunder Focus Tea with Rising Sun Kick when talented into Emperor's Elixir, you will proc a Jadefire Stomp that deals damage up to 5 enemies. Jadefire Stomp no longer heals through Gust of Mist when it hits allies, but the Jadefire Stomp from this empowered Rising Sun Kick will heal through Ancient Teachings. This allows us to have burst damage on up to 5 targets in addition to the burst healing from the Ancient Teachings transfer. I'm happy that we get to keep some aspect of Jadefire Stomp with the damage conversion through healing as well as the visual, without it being so much of a pain point for players. There has been a couple positional changes in the spec tree. I mentioned earlier that Mist of Life is now a choice node with Calming Coalescence following Refreshment's removal. Tea of Plenty and Tea of Serenity node is going where the 2 stat talents went. I think these were not quite powerful enough to be capstone, so I'm happy to see these moved up in addition to the interactions with Emperor's Elixir. I think this is a lot more appropriate placement. With the removal of Mending Proliferation, the Jade Empowerment node is awaiting a second choice here, but Jade Empowerment itself was reworked a little bit as well. The new form of Jade Empowerment along with the Div note explains that they are aiming to reduce the amount of burst healing cooldowns that we have, but Jade Empowerment should still live on in the kit, just in a different way. It is specifically mentioned that this will not surpass or equal our regular damage rotation, i.e. Rising Sun Kick, Tiger Palm, and Blackout Kick, if it stays passive like this. It still heals a decent amount, but of course, like previously mentioned, this is not intended to replace our regular rotation, and this is only healing through Ancient Teachings, so it's not a one-button situation. PvP here is mentioned specifically that if this is meant to be PvP Mistweaver's main form of damage, then they will buff it in PvP with a modifier, but not affect the PvE side of things. Because of the dungeon and the healing philosophy change, I don't think this is going to be too much of an issue. If we do end up running Jade Empowerment, I think it'll still be a decent button for when you can't quite get melee range but still need a little bit of healing through Ancient Teachings. Whether or not we run Jade Empowerment depends on what it's on a choice node with, so it's a little too early to say if this is something that we will regularly have in Midnight. Mist Dispersion was on the choice node with Veil of Pride, but since this is removed, we are also still awaiting a replacement on this node. Rushing Wind Kick no longer provides rushing winds and instead will heal up to 5 allies affected by our HOTS for a small amount. This could cause some issues in Raid. I do think that the target cap on this could be removed because if you're playing it in keys, which you shouldn't, you're only healing 5 allies anyway. But based on early numbers, it seems like Jadefire Teaching straight up out heals Rushing Wind Kick even in 20-man with the target cap, so I'd like to see some further iteration on this. I had mentioned already that Jadefire Stomp now no longer heals allies on application, but it will still heal through Ancient Teachings, and Rising Mist had the healing portion of it removed, which we probably won't even notice if we're being honest, but the hot extension still remains. And for hero talents, they got a few updates. Master of Harmony is still not implemented, but the Heart of the Jade Serpent buff is now triggered by Thunder Focus Tea instead of Shaylin's Gift due to the Shaylin's Gift and Vivify change. And now Yulon's avatar is a little bit RNG, because Vivify and Shaylin's Gift have a chance to trigger Heart of the Jade Serpent, though it doesn't appear that the functionality is in yet, so it's just a tooltip update, so we don't know the actual proc rate. RNG tends to not go over too well when it comes to raid healing, so I'm hoping for some type of really frequent proc rate or some consistency introduced into these talents. Overall, I'm quite happy with a lot of the changes, or at the very least the direction that we're taking with these changes. So I am excited to see how this further develops. I'm looking forward to seeing our tier set, as well as any of the Master of Harmony talents that will be incoming.